I stared at my resignation letter, heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. 3 years of spreadsheets, corporate meetings, and forced smiles had led to this moment. My hand trembled as I placed the envelope on my manager's desk, but my voice didn't waver. I quit. I'm Tamara. And that was the easy part of my day. The hard part waited at home, where my family gathered for our weekly dinner, a tradition that was about to become a battlefield. The late autumn wind whipped at my face as I walked up the familiar driveway. Through the window, I could see my mother setting the table, my father reading his newspaper, and my sister Caitlin probably sharing another story about her successful career in finance. My younger brother August would be glued to his phone, no doubt. The door creaked open before I could reach for the handle. "You're late," my mother said, lips pressed into a thin line. "Everyone's waiting." "Sorry, Mom. Had some things to wrap up at work." I hung up my coat, the weight of what I was about to tell them sitting heavy in my stomach. The dining room fell silent as I entered. My father lowered his newspaper, peering at me over his reading glasses. "Rough day at the office?" "You could say that." I took my usual seat, avoiding Caitlin's scrutinizing gaze. "I actually have something to tell everyone." "Did you finally get that promotion?" Caitlin asked, reaching for the mashed potatoes. "God knows you've been there long enough." I took a deep breath. "Actually, I quit today." The clatter of my mother's fork against her plate echoed through the room. "You what?" "I quit. I'm starting my own business, an organic skincare line. I've been working on the formulations for months, and I've already secured some initial funding." "Are you out of your mind?" My father's voice cut through the air like a knife. "You're throwing away a perfectly good career for—" "What? Face cream?" "It's more than just face cream, Dad. It's a whole line of natural, sustainable products. I've done the market research, created a solid business plan." Caitlin's laugh interrupted me. "Oh, this is rich. Little Tamara thinks she's going to be the next Estee Lauder." "At least I'm pursuing something I'm passionate about," I shot back, unlike some people who just follow the path others set for them. "Enough!" My father's fist came down on the table, making the water glasses jump. "Tamara, this is ridiculous. You have a degree in business administration, you have a stable job with benefits, and you want to throw it all away for some pipe dream?" "It's not a pipe dream," I insisted, my voice stronger than I felt. "I've already developed the products. I have investors interested. Edgar's helping me with the marketing plan." "Oh, Edgar," my mother sighed. "That friend of yours who can't keep a job for more than 6 months? He's creative and talented, and he believes in me, which is more than I can say for my own family." My father stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "I've heard enough. You want to destroy your future? Fine. But don't come crying to us when this little venture fails. And it will fail, Tamara. You mark my words." "Jerome," my mother started, but he cut her off with a wave of his hand. "Eve. No, Daphne. She needs to hear this. You have a choice to make, Tamara. Either you go back to your job and stop this nonsense, or you're on your own. No more family dinners, no more support, nothing. Is that what you want?" I stood up slowly, my hands steady despite the hurricane of emotions inside me. "What I want is for my family to believe in me just once. But I guess that's too much to ask." August finally looked up from his phone, his eyes wide with concern. I gave him a small smile before turning to leave. "You'll come crawling back when it fails," my father called after me. "They all do." I paused at the door, my hand on the knob. "No, Dad, I won't. Because unlike you, I'm not afraid to chase my dreams." The door closed behind me with a satisfying thud, and I walked to my car with my head held high. My phone buzzed. A text from Edgar. "How'd it go?" I started the engine, watching the lights go out one by one in my parents' house. "Time to prove them wrong," I typed back, a smile spreading across my face despite the tears threatening to fall. The night was cold, but my determination burned hot. They thought I would fail. Fine, I'd show them what failure looked like, from the cover of Forbes magazine. The clock on my laptop blinked 3:47 a.m. as I stared at yet another spreadsheet. Empty coffee cups littered my small apartment's kitchen table, and my eyes burned from lack of sleep. A text from Caitlin from earlier that evening glowed on my phone. Hope you're enjoying your entrepreneurial journey. Mom's crying, by the way. Thanks for that. A knock at my door made me jump. It's open, Edgar. He walked in carrying 2 paper bags that smelled like heaven. Brought you some actual food. Figured you'd be surviving on coffee and anxiety again. My hero. I managed a weak smile, reaching for the bags. Please tell me there's double cheeseburger, extra pickles, no onions. I know you're stress food. I unwrapped the burger while Edgar pulled up a chair, his eyes scanning my laptop screen. Supply chain issues? The organic supplier in Oregon backed out last minute, I groaned. Something about capacity issues. Now I have to find someone else who can handle the volume we need, or the whole launch timeline gets pushed back. Have you slept at all this week? Sleep is for people who don't have mothers sending them passive-aggressive texts every hour. I showed him the latest one. Saw a help wanted sign at your old office today. Just saying. Edgar snatched my phone away. Okay, that's enough family drama for one night. Let's focus on what we can control. The sound of rain against the windows filled the silence as we worked. Edgar pulled up alternative supplier listings while I refined the cost projections. The numbers weren't pretty. Maybe they're right, I whispered, more to myself than to Edgar. Maybe I am being stupid. Hey, Edgar's voice was sharp. Stop that right now. Remember what you told me about your first batch of face cream? That I nearly burned my eyebrows off? No, well, yes, but after that, you said it was the first time you felt truly alive in years. That's not stupid, Tam. That's following your heart. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. Daphne called today about an opening in her friend's accounting firm. Good benefits. Think about it. I pushed the phone away. They all think I'm having some kind of quarter-life crisis. Then prove them wrong. Edgar pulled up a website on his laptop. Look at this supplier in Washington. Smaller operation, but they're certified organic and their minimum order quantities match our needs. As we dived into the details, my email pinged. The subject line made my stomach drop. Regarding your recent market entry, Rebecca Johnson, Pure Glow Cosmetics. Who's Rebecca Johnson? Edgar asked, peering at my screen. Only the owner of the biggest natural skincare line in the Pacific Northwest. I clicked open the email, my hands shaking slightly. And apparently, she's concerned about market oversaturation and wants to discuss mutual interests. Sounds like someone's feeling threatened, Edgar grinned. Or looking to crush the competition before it starts. I read the email again. She wants to meet next week. Good. Wear that power suit you hate and show her what you're made of. A text from August interrupted us. Hey sis, Dad's still mad, but I checked out your product samples. That night cream is amazing. Can I get more? For the first time in days, I felt a genuine smile spread across my face. At least one family member's coming around. Speaking of products, Edgar said, we need to finalize the packaging design by tomorrow if we want to meet the production deadline. We worked until the sun started peeking through the windows. My eyes were heavy, but my mind was racing with possibilities. The supplier in Washington looked promising. August's text gave me hope, and even Rebecca's threatening email felt like validation. You don't try to intimidate competitors you don't take seriously. As Edgar packed up to leave, he paused at the door. You know what your family doesn't understand? What's that? That sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. After he left, I walked to my tiny bathroom and looked at the rows of sample products lining the shelves. Each bottle and jar represented countless hours of research, testing, and refinement. My fingers traced the temporary labels, Pure Earth Beauty, my dream in physical form. My phone buzzed one last time. Caitlin again. Just saw a girl at Sephora buying $300 worth of skincare. Could have been your customer, sis. Too bad you'll never know. I picked up one of my serum samples and studied it in the morning light. The golden liquid caught the sun, creating tiny rainbows on my wall. Actually, sis, I whispered to myself, she will be my customer. They all will be. I set the bottle down and finally headed to bed, leaving my phone in the kitchen. Let them doubt. Let them worry. Let them send their texts and make their comments. I had work to do. Is this for real? I stared at the email, reading it for the 5th time. Edgar, tell me I'm not hallucinating. We would be delighted to feature pure earth beauty in all 15 of our Northwest locations. Edgar read aloud, grinning. Nope, not a hallucination. You just landed your first major retailer. I jumped up from my desk, knocking over an empty coffee cup in my excitement. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. My phone rang. August's face popped up on the screen. Hey sis, you busy? Typing. I just got the best news. I know that. Stores, that's huge. I paused. Wait, you follow me on LinkedIn? Yeah, well, he cleared his throat. Someone has to keep tabs on you since Mom and Dad are still doing their whole pretending you don't exist thing. Edgar was already pulling up spreadsheets. Tam, we need to scale up production like yesterday, the Washington supplier. Already on it, I said, putting August on speaker. Hey, want to see something cool? Come by the pop-up store this afternoon. 3 hours later, August walked into my small retail space, his eyes widening as he took in the sleek displays and professional signage. Wow, this is actually legitimate. Try not to sound so surprised, I laughed, handing him a sample of our best-selling face oil. This is the one that's been flying off the shelves. He studied the bottle. How did you even learn to make all this? YouTube tutorials, chemistry textbooks, and a lot of trial and error. I led him to the small lab area in the back. Plus, I took some cosmetic formulation courses online. Want to see how it's made? For the next hour, I showed him the basics of emulsion making, watching his face light up with genuine interest. This is like cooking, but with science, he said, stirring a small batch of moisturizer. Exactly. And look, I pulled out my sales reports. We've doubled our revenue every month for the past quarter. Does Dad know about these numbers? Dad doesn't want to know anything about it. I started cleaning up the lab space. He made that pretty clear. August was quiet for a moment. You know, I've been thinking about what you did, taking the leap, following your passion. It's kind of inspiring. August Dawson, are you saying you're proud of your big sister? Don't push it, he grinned, then grew serious. But really, I've been stuck in this pre-med track because it's what everyone expected, and the bell above the door chimed. A woman in an expensive suit walked in, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Rebecca Johnson. My stomach dropped. What a charming little space, she said, running a manicured finger along one of the display shelves. So quaint. Rebecca, I kept my voice steady, what brings you to my quaint store? She picked up one of my serums, studying it with exaggerated interest. Just checking out the competition, though I use that term loosely. August stepped forward, but I caught his arm. Rebecca owns Pure Glow Cosmetics, I explained quietly. Oh, how sweet. Family helping out? Rebecca smiled, all teeth. You'll need it, especially after that retail deal you just landed. Mass production can be so challenging for small operations. We're managing just fine, I said, taking the serum from her hand and placing it back on the shelf. Was there something specific you needed? She pulled out a business card. Just wanted to congratulate you in person and remind you that my offer to discuss mutual interests still stands. Before things get complicated. After she left, August let out a low whistle. Who does she think she is? A movie villain. She thinks she's untouchable. I picked up my phone as it buzzed with a text from Edgar. Meeting with new investors confirmed for tomorrow. They're going to flip when they see these sales numbers. Hey, August said, can I come back tomorrow? I want to learn more about the business side of things. I looked at my baby brother, really looked at him, and saw something new in his eyes. Recognition, respect, maybe even a little admiration. Anytime, I said. Partners always welcome. Partners? He raised an eyebrow. Well, someone's got to help me run this empire when it takes off. I bumped his shoulder playfully. Unless you're still set on medical school? He picked up another product sample, turning it over in his hands. Let's just say I'm keeping my options open. As I locked up that evening, I noticed Rebecca standing across the street, talking on her phone and glancing at my store. Let her watch. Let her worry. The game was just beginning, and I had something she didn't, something to prove. Look at this! Edgar burst into my office, waving a magazine. Seattle Style's top 10 beauty brands to watch. Pure Earth Beauty takes natural skincare to the next level. You're officially famous. I grabbed the magazine, my hands shaking. They called our night cream revolutionary. Edgar, they actually used the word revolutionary. My phone buzzed. A text from August. Just saw the magazine. Dad was reading it at breakfast. He tried to hide it when I walked in. Before I could reply, my assistant poked her head in. Tamara, the camera crew from Channel 7 is here for your interview. All ready? I glanced down at my outfit. How do I look? Like someone who's about to crush it. Edgar straightened my blazer. Now go show them what a revolutionary looks like. The interview flew by in a blur of bright lights and questions about my entrepreneurial journey. I stuck to our talking points until the final question caught me off guard. Any message for aspiring entrepreneurs who might be facing family opposition? I paused, thinking of Dad hiding the magazine. Trust your vision. Success is the best revenge, but make sure you're doing it for yourself, not to prove others wrong. After the crew packed up, Edgar showed me the latest sales reports. The magazine feature is already driving traffic to our website. We're up 200% since this morning. Perfect timing for tonight's industry gala, I said, checking my calendar. Did you RSVP for... The office door swung open. Rebecca Johnson stood there, looking immaculate as always. Darling, we simply must stop meeting like this. Rebecca, I wasn't aware we had a meeting scheduled. She glided into the office uninvited. Oh, I saw your charming little interview. Thought I'd pop by to congratulate you. Her eyes scanned the space lingering on the magazine cover framed on my desk. Though I must say, all this attention for a startup is rather unusual. Is there something specific you wanted to discuss? I kept my voice neutral, professional. Just wanted to make sure you're prepared for tonight's gala. These events can be so overwhelming for newcomers. She adjusted her designer watch, especially when certain revelations come to light. After she left, Edgar frowned. What was that about? Classic intimidation tactics. I checked my phone. Another text from August. Caitlin saw your interview. She's pissed you look better in a blazer than her. The gala that evening was a sea of designer dresses and networking smiles. I worked the room, shaking hands and accepting congratulations, until I overheard a conversation that made me freeze. Of course she's successful, a familiar voice said, when your family's secretly backing you. I turned to see Rebecca speaking to a group of investors. Excuse me? She smiled sweetly. Oh, Tamara. We were just discussing your remarkable rise. Tell me, how is your father? Still practicing corporate law? My father has nothing to do with my business. No? Rebecca raised an eyebrow. That's not what I heard. Apparently the whole family rejection story is quite the clever marketing angle. The room felt suddenly hot. My success is my own. Of course it is, dear. She turned back to the investors. Though it must be nice having a safety net of family wealth to fall back on. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low. My family cut me off completely. Every dollar in my company came from my savings and legitimate investors. But you'd know all about family connections, wouldn't you, Rebecca? Wasn't Pure Glow a gift from your father? Her smile faltered. Before she could respond, Edgar appeared at my side. Tamara, those buyers from Japan are asking for you. Back at Edgar's apartment later that night, I paced the floor. She's trying to discredit me. Make it look like this was all handed to me. Then we'll prove her wrong. Again. Edgar was opening his mail, then suddenly stopped. Tam, he held up a plain white envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a typed message. Every empire has its weak foundation. Yours is built on family drama. Wonder what would happen if the truth came out. What truth? I grabbed the paper. There is no truth. Everything I've said is... Look, Edgar pointed to the bottom of the page. A small logo was watermarked in the corner, the Pure Glow emblem. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Sweet dreams, little entrepreneur. Tomorrow's another day. I looked at Edgar, my heart racing. She's not just trying to intimidate me anymore. This is war. Then we better make sure we're armed for battle, he said, already pulling out his laptop, starting with finding out what else she's planning. The city lights twinkled outside, but sleep was the last thing on my mind. Rebecca wanted to play dirty. Fine. She was about to learn why you don't underestimate someone with nothing left to lose. Forbes. I nearly dropped my phone. Are you serious? Not just Forbes, Edgar said, scrolling through his tablet. Business Insider, Entrepreneur, even Vogue wants to do a feature. You're trending, Tam. Before I could process this, my phone buzzed. Mum's number. I stared at it until Edgar nudged me. Answer it. Hello? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Tamara? Mum's voice was careful, measured. I saw your segment on Good Morning America. Oh. I waited for the criticism, the passive-aggressive comments. Your skin looked wonderful. Is that from your products? I almost laughed. Of course she'd focus on that. Yes, Mom. The whole line. I see. A pause. Well, I was wondering if you might have some samples. My bridge club ladies keep asking about them. Edgar watched me pace around my office. Mum, for 6 months you haven't even... I know, sweetheart, I know. She sighed. Things got complicated, but I'm trying here. Before I could respond, my assistant rushed in. Tamara, your brother's here. He says it's urgent. Oss burst into the office, still wearing his pre-med lab coat. Have you seen this? Flashed on the screen. Transfer attempt. 50,000 from Daphne Dawson declined. Mom tried to invest in your company. August said Dad found out and blocked it. She what? I looked back at my phone. Mom. I wanted to help, she said quietly. Your father. He's stubborn, but he's watching you, Tamara. We all are. That interview you gave about sustainable business practices, he recorded it. My throat tightened. I have to go, Mom. I'll send those samples. After hanging up, I slumped in my chair. August perched on my desk. There's more. Caitlin's been asking questions about your business model. She's impressed, even though she won't admit it. Impressed enough to stop sending snarky texts? Baby steps, he grinned. But hey, she did buy your entire skincare line through a fake name on your website. Edgar snorted. That was her? Order number 647, shipping address Catherine Davis. A knock at the door interrupted our laughter. My assistant looked nervous. Rebecca Johnson is here. Again. Send her, I started, but Rebecca was already strutting in. Family reunion. How sweet. Her smile was razor-sharp. I hope I'm not interrupting. Actually, August stood up, drawing himself to full height. August, right? Rebecca cut him off. The medical student? I heard you've been spending quite a bit of time here instead of studying. Tsk, tsk. I'm learning more here than in any classroom, August shot back. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. Yes, I'm sure. Learning all about how to ride your sister's coattails. That's enough. I stood up. What do you want, Rebecca? Just delivering some news personally. She pulled out a tablet. Your latest batch of products? Failed 3 FDA compliance tests. That's impossible. We triple-check everything. Do you? She swiped through some documents. Because according to these reports, those reports are fake, Edgar interrupted, typing furiously on his laptop. Just like the last 3 anonymous complaints filed against Pure Earth Beauty. All traced back to IP addresses linked to Pure Glow offices. Rebecca's composure cracked just for a second. You can't prove that. Actually, August pulled out his phone. I've been recording this entire conversation. Harassment, defamation, attempted sabotage. Want me to go on? She backed toward the door. You're making a serious mistake. No, Rebecca, I said. The mistake was thinking you could bully me out of business. I've dealt with worse than you. At least my family's criticism came from a place of misguided love. What's your excuse? After she stormed out, August turned to me. Dad wants to meet. What? At your flagship store, tomorrow morning. He showed me the text. He says he needs to assess the situation personally. Edgar whistled low. The king finally leaving his castle? My phone buzzed again. Caitlin this time. That night's serum is actually decent, not that I'm admitting to buying it. Also, Dad's being weird. What did you do? I didn't do anything, I texted back, except build a multi-million-dollar company from scratch. August squeezed my shoulder. Want backup tomorrow? I looked around my office, at the magazine covers, the sales reports, the awards already lining my walls. No, I think it's time for a proper father-daughter chat. Just remember, Edgar said, you're not that scared girl from 6 months ago. You're the CEO of the fastest-growing skincare brand in the Pacific Northwest, August finished. And our sister. My phone lit up with another text from Mom. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you. I took a deep breath, straightening my shoulders. Tomorrow would change everything. Again. But this time, I was ready. Dad stood in my flagship store at exactly 9 a.m., examining a display of serums with the same intensity he used to review legal briefs. Caitlin hovered nearby, pretending she wasn't already familiar with every product. Your profit margins on these are impressive, he said without looking at me, especially considering the organic ingredients. You've been studying our financials? Of course I have. He finally turned to face me. I'm your father. And a businessman. Could have fooled me these past 6 months. The words came out sharper than intended. Caitlin stepped between us. Can we not do this? Mom's nervous enough about today. Where is Mom? I asked, noticing her absence. Parking the car. She's been practicing what to say all morning. Caitlin picked up a face cream. Though I still don't understand why you price this one higher than the others. Because people actually pay for quality, Kate. Something you'd know if you'd ever asked about my business instead of mocking it. Dad cleared his throat. We may have been wrong about some things. Some things? I laughed. You cut me off, told me I'd fail, made Mum cry for weeks. And you proved us wrong. He raised his voice, then caught himself. You proved us wrong, he repeated quietly. Is that what you want to hear? No. I met his gaze. I want you to understand why I did this, why it matters. The store's bell chimed as Mom walked in, followed by August. She looked around with wide eyes. Oh, honey, this is beautiful. It's a real business, Dad said almost to himself, a successful one. Did you think I was playing store this whole time? I walked to the register, pulling out our sales reports. Here, since you love numbers so much, look at these. He studied the papers while Mom wandered the store, touching everything, reading every label. Caitlin tried to appear disinterested but kept sneaking glances at the spreadsheets. These projections for next quarter, Dad adjusted his glasses. They're ambitious. They're conservative, actually, August chimed in. You should see the pre-orders for the new line. Dad's head snapped up. You know about the new line? August has been helping with research and development, I said. Turns out that pre-med knowledge comes in handy for formulations. You're working here? Dad turned to August. What about medical school? I can do both, August straightened up. Tamara's teaching me about business and I'm helping with the scientific side. It's perfect, actually. Mom touched my arm gently. Why didn't you tell us you were doing all this? When would I have told you, Mom? Between the disappointed sighs and ignored calls. We want to help now, Caitlin said. That's why we're here. I crossed my arms. Help? Or cash in now that I'm successful? Both, Dad said bluntly. We were wrong, but we're also not blind. You've built something remarkable here, something that could become even bigger with the right support. And what kind of support are you offering? Legal counsel, for one. He pulled out a business card. I hear you're having trouble with a competitor, Rebecca Johnson. You've done your homework. I also have connections in retail distribution, Caitlin added. And Mom's Bridge Club is basically a focus group waiting to happen. I looked at each of them, Dad with his barely concealed pride, Mom's hopeful smile, Caitlin's attempted nonchalance, and August's encouraging nod. Okay, I said finally. You want in? Here are my terms. Dad, you can handle legal, but you go through proper channels like any other counsel. Caitlin, You want to help with distribution? You start from the ground up. Learn the product line. Understand our customers. That's fair, Caitlin nodded. And Mom, she stepped forward. Yes? Those Bridge Club ladies? They're now our official product testing group, but you have to take detailed notes and give honest feedback. Of course, sweetheart. My phone buzzed. Edgar, Rebecca's team just called. They want to discuss a merger. I showed the message to Dad. His eyes lit up with the familiar spark of a legal challenge. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, I smiled, that it's time to show Rebecca what a real family business looks like. Speaking of business, Caitlin pulled out her phone. When do I start my product training? Right now. I handed her an apron. The afternoon rush starts in 20 minutes. Hope you're ready to learn about more than just spreadsheets. As my family spread out across the store, each finding their place, I sent a quick reply to Edgar. Tell Rebecca thanks, but no thanks. We've got all the backup we need. The store's bell chimed again as customers began flowing in. Time to show my family exactly what they'd been missing and what we could build together. And that's how you properly explain the benefits of vitamin C serum, I finished demonstrating to Caitlin as she scribbled notes. Got it? Got it. She adjusted her name tag. Though I still can't believe you have me working the floor like some retail newbie. Builds character, I grinned. Besides, you killed it with that last customer. That's the biggest single sale we've had all week. My phone buzzed. Dad's message made me smile. Just filed the trademark infringement lawsuit against Pure Glow. Rebecca's lawyers are scrambling. Good news? Caitlin asked. The best. I showed her the message. Turns out Rebecca's been copying more than just our marketing strategies. Mum burst through the door waving a magazine. It's here! The Forbes feature! August looked up from his lab station in the corner. Read it out loud! Pure Earth Beauty. The skincare revolution that's changing the industry. Mom read, her voice trembling with pride, when Tamara launched her company with nothing but savings and a dream. The bell above the door chimed. Rebecca Johnson stood there, looking less polished than usual. Family story time. How precious. She straightened her jacket. Though I suppose you'll have less time for that once the merger proceedings begin. There won't be any merger, I said calmly. And I think you know why. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Don't be foolish. You've seen our offer. It's more than generous. Is it? Dad emerged from the back office. Because from a legal standpoint, it looks more like a hostile takeover attempt. And who might you be? Jerome Dawson, Pure Earth Beauty's legal counsel. He handed her a thick envelope. You've been served. Rebecca's hands shook as she opened the documents. This is ridiculous. You can't prove... Actually, August called from his station, we can. Those formulation records you tried to pass off as your own? They're dated after our patent applications. And your attempts to sabotage our supply chain, Caitlin added. I have some fascinating emails from your former operations manager. Rebecca's face went pale. You're making a huge mistake. I could destroy... What? I stepped forward. Destroy my business? My reputation? My family? Look around, Rebecca. You've tried everything and we're still here. Stronger than ever. The Bridge Club ladies are obsessed with the new line, Mum chimed in helpfully. They've already pre-ordered everything. Rebecca's eyes darted between us, calculating. A partnership isn't happening, I finished. But I'll tell you what is. You're going to stop the harassment, the fake reports, and the attempts to poach our suppliers. Otherwise, these documents go public. You wouldn't dare. Try me, I smiled. I learned from the best how to fight for what matters. After she stormed out, Caitlin whistled low. That was better than any corporate takedown I've seen on Wall Street. Speaking of corporate, Dad checked his watch, the investors are waiting in the conference room. Go, Mom shooed me toward the office. Show them what my daughter's made of. The investment meeting flew by in a blur of projections and expansion plans. When I returned to the store floor, I found August teaching Caitlin about ingredient interactions, while Mom charmed customers with her personal product reviews. They're naturals, Edgar said, appearing beside me. Who would have thought? They just needed a chance to prove themselves. I watched Dad explaining our intellectual property rights to a curious customer. Kind of like someone else we know. My phone lit up with a news alert. Pure Glow Cosmetics CEO steps down amid controversy. Look who's on top now, Caitlin smirked, reading over my shoulder. It's not about being on top, I said. It's about doing it right, together. Speaking of together, August called out, these new formulations need family approval. Who's up for a testing session? We gathered around his lab station, passing around samples and sharing notes. Mom's detailed feedback made us laugh. Dad's analytical approach proved surprisingly useful, and Caitlin's marketing insights were spot on. You know, Dad said quietly as we worked, I kept that first business plan you showed us, the one we dismissed. You did? He nodded. It's framed in my office now, to remind me that sometimes the biggest risks bring the greatest rewards. Including family reconciliation, I teased. Especially that. He squeezed my shoulder. Though I still think your initial revenue projections were a bit optimistic. Actually, Caitlin interrupted, showing us her tablet, she underestimated. These quarterly numbers just came in. As my family huddled around the screen, exclaiming over figures and planning next steps, I caught Edgar's eye. He raised an imaginary toast and mouthed, "You did it." No, I thought, watching my once-fractured family work together like they'd been doing it all along. We did it. The store's bell chimed again. More customers, more opportunities, more chances to prove that success is sweetest when shared with those who matter most. Ready for this? Edgar adjusted my microphone as the auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Born ready. I peeked through the curtain at the packed entrepreneurship conference. Mom and Dad sat in the front row, while Caitlin was doing last-minute preparations with the video team. August stood at the side entrance, giving me a thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice boomed, please welcome our keynote speaker, Pure Earth Beauty founder and CEO, Tamara. The applause washed over me as I walked onto the stage. Thank you. You know, someone once told me I'd come crawling back when my dream failed. I caught Dad's eye. He smiled sheepishly. But here's the thing about failure. It's not about falling down. It's about who helps you get back up. My presentation flew by. Market strategies, growth metrics, sustainability initiatives. But the real story came during the Q&A. A young woman stood up. How do you handle family opposition to your dreams? Funny you should ask. I gestured to my family. Dad, want to take this one? Dad stepped up to the microphone. I was wrong. Dead wrong. I thought I was protecting my daughter from failure, but I was actually standing in the way of her success. The trick is knowing when to stop fighting and start supporting. Though some of us needed more convincing than others, Caitlin chimed in from the tech booth, earning laughs from the audience. Another hand shot up. What happened to Pure Glow after the lawsuit? They're under new management, I smiled. Actually, they're one of our retail partners now. Turns out Karma has a sense of humor. The questions continued until August signaled it was time. Before we wrap up, I said, I'd like to share something special. Mom? Mom walked onto the stage carrying a small potted tree. This is a rare white sage plant, she explained. Its essential oils are a key ingredient in our newest product line, but more importantly, it represents growth, healing, and new beginnings. Which is why we're planting it today, I continued, in front of our new global headquarters. The audience followed us outside, where a ceremonial planting space had been prepared. As we lowered the tree into the ground, I caught glimpses of our journey in the faces around me. Edgar, who never stopped believing, August, who found his own path alongside mine, Caitlin, who learned to trade cynicism for support, Mum, whose quiet strength held us together, and Dad, who proved it's never too late to change. The soil needs to be just right, August explained to the crowd, ever the scientist. Like family relationships, too much pressure suffocates growth, too little support makes roots weak. Speaking of support, Caitlin pulled out her tablet. Our latest market research shows that 87% of our customers cite family involvement as a key brand value. Because we're authentic, Mom added, patting the soil around the tree. We lived this story. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, Dad lingered by the tree. Remember when you used to help me garden as a kid? You mean when I mostly just made mud pies? He laughed. You always had your own way of doing things. I should have remembered that. Hey, boss, Edgar called out. The expansion team needs your sign-off on those international contracts. Go, Dad said. Run your empire. But don't forget about family dinner tonight. Wouldn't miss it. I turned to leave, then paused. Hey, Dad. Thanks for learning to believe in me. Thank you for not giving up on us. Back in my office, I found a small package on my desk. Inside was a framed photo of that first family dinner after I quit my corporate job, with a note from Caitlin. Look how far we've come. Edgar appeared in the doorway. The tree's already got its first new leaves. Fast grower, I smiled, like someone else we know. More like someone who had the right support system. He handed me another stack of papers. Speaking of growth, these just came in. 5 more countries want distribution rights. I signed the contracts thinking about that scared girl who once stood up to her family with nothing but a dream and determination. She didn't know then that success would taste sweetest, not when proving others wrong, but when bringing them along for the journey. The white sage tree stood tall outside my window, its leaves catching the sunlight. A symbol of victory, yes, but more importantly of reconciliation, of family, of home. My phone buzzed. The family group chat was alive with dinner plans and playful banter. No more missed calls, no more ignored texts, no more choosing between dreams and family. Because sometimes the biggest success isn't in proving people wrong. It's in proving that they can change, that relationships can heal, and that the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's growth.